Hello everyone. Thank you to the organizers for the opportunity to come here today. It's a tough spot. I'm between you and the closing and the prizes, so we'll try and keep it short, but hopefully you'll be interested to hear what we have to say about this new funding opportunity. So we've heard over the last several days, and many of you are well aware of some of the challenges that are faced by First Nations with managing waste on reserve. Yes, there's some communities that have really well-developed, high-functioning waste management systems, but many communities don't. So some of communities struggle with unmaintained landfill. Many of you will have more than one refuse site. Open burning, which is very dangerous to your health as it releases dioxins and furans into the air. Many of you have problems with mattresses, abandoned vehicles, and the challenges of getting those out of your community. And then most communities don't have any waste diversion programming like recycling and composting. And then you may have a municipal type service agreement with a nearby community or a nearby municipality to manage your waste, but that might be outdated and require some modernization. So we would like to help communities move toward a better future for their waste management, and really to try and support communities to develop high-functioning, robust waste management systems that protect the health and safety of the community and also provide economic development opportunities for community members. We are also well aware of the insufficiency of the current operations funding, so we want to move toward a future where that funding is adequate and sustainable. And we also want to move towards a transparent and consistent regulatory regime for waste management. So we have an opportunity through Budget 2016 to start towards this hopefully better future for waste management on reserve. I'm not sure if you saw the announcement, but it's been referenced a few times. The budget commitment was $409 million over 5 years, starting this year. We had a modest amount of funding for this year, $15 million to work with. And that's very much because we're in a development year. It's a new program. We're getting up and rolling. Next year we'll have $96 million to invest. It worked. So some of the guiding principles for the implementation of this program that I'd like to emphasize are that we would really like to support communities to, as much as possible, reduce their waste and divert the waste where it makes sense. So in particular, the hazardous waste, trying to make sure that you get all the chemicals out of the landfill so your landfill doesn't become a contaminated site. We also want to support communities moving towards composting programs where it makes sense. We learned in our landfill training yesterday, in some communities the organics is making up around 40% of the entire waste stream. So where that makes sense, that would be something we would really like to encourage. And also recycling programs where available. We also want to note that we want to support sustainable, sensible solutions that make sense. So every community is unique and there won't be a one-size-fits-all. So we want to work with the communities to identify what is the path forward that makes sense for them and support them on that path. As much as possible, we want to encourage communities that are nearby a neighboring municipality or third-party partner that could accept their waste to consider moving towards a municipal type service agreement that would move their waste off reserve and help protect the health and safety of their community members and make sure that their waste is well managed. So now I'll start talking about the types of things we can fund. A good starting point, if your community hasn't already done it, is a waste management plan to really look at all the options available for your community and identify what's the best path. So we can support that, as well as some of the more technical work like the feasibility studies, site design studies, any of the geotechnical reviews that you might need to do, both for the planning of a new waste management facility and also for closing waste management, existing abandoned landfill. We can support capacity building and training, so development of materials to encourage communities to take up a waste diversion program is something that we can support. And also waste operator training. I believe the NOFNC is holding 2 more training sessions this year. You can check out their website to find out more. As I already mentioned, we want to support communities to work with neighboring municipalities where it makes sense, and we can provide seed funding for those negotiations and relationship building. There's a new program that's available through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. It's free. You can apply to it in collaboration with your municipal partner, and they can help to facilitate meetings and bring you together to really guide you towards an agreement that works for both parties. Visit that website to learn more. Okay, in terms of actual infrastructure, we can help to support the development of new landfill in remote and isolated communities, or the development of a regional landfill. We can also support the construction of transfer stations. For those of you in the session earlier, we saw some really neat examples of really well-developed transfer stations that can help your community to manage your waste. And again, we can help you to close abandoned waste sites on reserve, or your existing landfill if you're moving into an MTSA and you want to close your existing landfill. And then finally, we can also provide augmented operations and maintenance funding for landfill operation, transfer station operation, and for MTSA implementation. So it's really a comprehensive range of waste management activities that are eligible. So I won't spend too much time here, but just to note a potential approach is to, again, start with looking at your waste, assessing your waste stream, and doing a waste management plan to identify the best path forward for your community, and working on some of the training capacity building aspects that might be needed to help develop a well-maintained waste management system for your community. In terms of governance, we hope to develop a national advisory committee that can help provide high-level governance to us, or advice to us as we move forward, ideally with waste experts and also representatives from other government departments, First Nations, of course, and First Nations representative organizations, and the provinces and other stakeholders or partners. We would like to work closely with tribal councils that are interested in getting involved in this program too, and other, like the one FNTSC, for example. We could be collaborating to develop tools and training like they're already doing, and working with them and through them in their existing collaborations to support First Nations and providing aggregate services. So for example, maybe your community, it would be perhaps difficult to organize hazardous waste diversion for one community, but maybe for a tribal council to organize that, that's something that we could work together on. So in terms of engagement, we're just getting started with getting the word out slowly. And so on the left is listed a number of the different organizations, First Nations and groups that we want to speak with. And we are developing, we're pursuing a few paths for doing this engagement. We're working on a website and working with our communications folks on social media. We're also working very closely with our regional counterparts, both in the environment group and in the capital group, and to support delivery of this initiative. And they're already out talking to communities about this opportunity, and you can contact them if you want to learn more. In terms of how we're planning to do our performance evaluation for the program, we're right now doing a comprehensive assessment of the baseline conditions, just where every community is at in terms of the types of waste management facilities they have, and trying to better understand the supports they need. And then in terms of assessing progress forward, we're probably going to be looking at the number of communities with improved waste infrastructure and improved waste programming, and the number of communities whose waste management system is working well. So in terms of how to get involved, how to benefit from this funding, we would encourage you to identify your waste management needs in your FNIP plans, which our communities, I believe, are working on right now. If you can ensure that you note the types of things that you need and provide a rationale for why those investments would be the best ones for your community, that's very important. And again, you can talk to your capital officer or environmental officers that work with your communities from INAC to learn more and to discuss a path forward. So that's it for me. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any. Yes?
What if they don't make it into this year's FNIP plans? Is there another way to enter in, to propose their interest?
Yeah, I would suggest that they would talk to their to the environmental officers to talk about their needs if they miss the plans. Yes. Yeah.
You can still submit your FNIP plan. You can have it in, have it approved, and you can always resubmit.
So Sunil was saying it's not too late to get your FNIP plans in as well. I think the deadline is being pushed back a little bit, so the opportunity, the deadline's there.
If you want to make adjustments, they can take it.
Yeah. Is there any other questions? Yes.
I'm wondering if there's any regards to the reference or process that we did before.
Right.
Streamline it and not make it so difficult to go through the hoops to get to where they need to be in the hoops.
In terms of the requirements for the construction?
Some of the terms of reference of how to complete the solid waste management plan, for example.
Yes.
So it's all over the place from the past.
Right.
And what ends up happening is that consultants end up getting hired and they end up making money off that process. So if there's a way to streamline it and reduce that kind of length of time and how long it takes to even get the project going.
Yeah, that's a good point. The question was whether we would be making some improvements to the process and the terms and conditions for the funding. And yes, we are going to be working on providing some clarity around what would be expected, for example, out of a waste management plan or a feasibility study, and what might be the expected standards for construction and the closure. But these are bodies of work that we are starting to work on as we also build up our capacity at INAC to move this program forward. So short answer, yes, but it's not ready yet, but we're going to be working on it. Is that okay? Okay. Any other questions?
I was listening to the majority of the communities a lot of them won't have long-term sustainable funding because they don't have the software resources to maintain it. So I think, and I'm not sure how that is calculated to the overall benefit component of the receive. But I'm sure I'd be an average person who has $9,000 and if you look at municipalities and nearby towns, to maintain your dump is probably like $125,000. That's just a rough estimate, right? Compare that to $9,000. You are increasing waste. I think INAC has to look at long-term sustainability.
Yes. Yeah. So part of the work that we're doing is to identify what is an appropriate funding level and cost share formula for that operation and maintenance of the landfill and the transfer station. and then also working towards how can we secure that funding long term so that the investments that we make in the infrastructure and that your community has made are maintained at a high quality. Okay, thanks very much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to talk to you about any of what we've presented, as we're still trying to develop our program, and we welcome your comments. Thank you.